Hi, it's me, Maven. So, in future videos, I'm hoping to touch on some parts of silent film in general, but the thing is that there is like this particular footnote in the history of silent film that fascinates me but drives me crazy because I cannot find enough information about it, and I thought maybe making a video will help me get this off my chest, and this whole video is just a tangent, okay? The problem is that I cannot find enough details about it, which is frustrating because I find this particular part of this history so fascinating. Not because there's a big cover-up or anything, but strictly because I don't know how to properly research subjects that happened over 100 years ago. Now, what part of the history of silent film am I talking about? Well, I'll tell you everything that I can put together. So if you know anything about the basics of the history of film, the film industry as we know it now started in the East Coast in the New England area, the biggest area being specifically Fort Lee, New Jersey. And you may have heard that the reason why people moved to New Jersey was to avoid patents and lawsuits. This is true. However, there is more to this. I'll give you a name. Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison was a bit of a movie villain. He is best known for inventing the photograph, the light bulb. Even though other inventors around that time were doing around the same thing, he was just able to find a way to make it commercially viable, basically. He took credit of inventions that were made under his company because he funded them, and also he was a little bit greedy. For example, there was a man named Granville T. Woods who invented the induction telegraph system, which was used to communicate in between trains. Basically, what this meant is a lot less train crashes happened because of this invention. And Thomas Edison was like, well, actually, I made something similar to this before, so I own the patent. But Edison sued, but Woods won. I suggest looking up Granville T. Woods, by the way. He's very fascinating, and he's the reason we have roller coasters. Anyway, so Thomas Edison had the patent for the motion picture camera. So to briefly summarize what's going on here, Thomas Edison kept suing movie companies. He kept suing movie companies for using his patented stuff, and it came to a point that the big movie studios, including the supplier of the film stock, Eastman Kodak, came to an agreement and formed the Motion Picture Patents Company, also known as the Edison Trust, and together they all created one big monopoly. So what this meant was if you wanted to make a movie, distribute the movie, or exhibit the movie, you no longer owned the equipment that you had to use it. You basically had to pay a weekly subscription of $2 a week, which for inflation, you had to pay $60 a week to use the equipment. So you no longer owned your equipment, you were a subscriber, which, you know, is very oddly familiar to today. However, the independent filmmaking scene was still around, and they still had to make their own movies. Well, what did they do? Well, they made their movies illegally, in secret, or just hoping that they didn't get caught. Now, this is the particular part that interests me. So if you were going against the trust in any way, particularly the filmmakers, not only were you at risk of being sued, if you were making a film, the trust would hire goons to destroy the equipment and intimidate the filmmakers. And that small detail intrigues me the most.
Hoodlums could appear with a gun suddenly and take away the camera or shoot it. They found that by shooting holes through the cameras, they could stop their use. And that became their favorite method.
And I have been trying so hard to find more details about it. The first I heard about this was in this documentary series called Hollywood from 1980. And in episode 2, the beginning touches on the subject in the beginning episode. But this is the most detail I have been able to find so far. I have found a few other small sources and snippets of it mentioning it in like a single sentence. But I want to know more about this. Like, there is this one sentence that of its source on Wikipedia, and my dad, who's a librarian, was able to get the book on interlibrary loan, and I thought I would be able to find out more, but no, it was just a single paragraph. Ah! The only luck I have been able to find to add a little bit more on this was on this Reddit with a dead link that I was luckily able to use on archive.org that has more confirmation. But thank goodness for people in the comments, because someone linked an article that adds more detail on how bad the trust wanted to intimidate people out of making films. So the trust would chase after filmmakers who had fled to California. The only account that I had found in the beginning was from the documentary, was the film director Alan Dwan.
Flying A Company made their pictures near the Mexican border. A private detective from the Patents Trust tracked them down.
One day, a fella got off the train, and he said, I want to have a talk with you. I said, all right. I suspected him. So we did. We walked up about a mile and came to an arroyo into which people had tossed a lot of tin cans. And he had said to me, we want you to get out of town. We want you to quit making pictures here and just forget it, because you've got your warning. And to impress me, he whipped out a sidearm and fired at one of the tin cans in the arroyo. And I immediately whipped mine out and fired, and he had missed his, but I hit mine 3 times. And I said, did you want to try that now? I had my gun in my hand, and he'd put his back in his pocket, so I was very brave.
But I'm so happy. This person linked an article regarding the director Cecil B. Demille, who is most famous for the 10 Commandments. This article cites a biography about it, which I want to get a hold of because I'm hoping there's more. Basically, this article says that Cecil B. Demille had to keep guns with him and had a trained prairie wolf to protect him. And apparently, he would sleep in the movie studio with a gun to protect his film, and was shot at twice by people hired by the trust. Edison, what? That is absolutely wild to me. I guess in conclusion, Thomas Edison was a terrible person. Eventually, the United States government cracked down on the trust a few years later in the 1910s, and now we have the Hollywood we know now today. Yay! Anyway, thank you for watching and listening to me ramble about something that happened over 100 years ago. Take care. Bye.